11. Is it on? No?
Oh, God, that.
All right. No sound, I don't think. Oh, there it is. Good morning. Welcome to the standing committee meeting for economic development, downtown metropolitan planning. Khalid Bey, the chair. Also from the committee present, Councilor Pat Hogan, Councilor Joe Carney. In addition, we have our Council President Hudson, Councilor Paniagua, Councilor Allen, and Councilor Driscoll.
Councilor, I was wondering if I could interrupt you for a second.
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to welcome you back and Councilor Allen. The
Appreciate
band's
it,
back
sir.
together again, so good to see you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Trying to pace myself, keep my oxygen in my body right now. So I know we have a number of items for this particular committee meeting. We could start. Jen, you have some items you want to start with?
I'm happy to start. I think that is valuable as well. Good morning, Jen Tiff, Deputy Commissioner at MBD. So my one item for you all today is actually a workforce development item, and it's request to authorize the use of ARPA funds to fund a workforce training and job placement program. We would propose to award the funding to Center State CEO to administer the program, and it's actually a multi-disciplinary program, so several different trainings and certifications would be offered, and Center State would partner actually with a number of actual training organizations that provide these types of certifications. But essentially the point would be to get folks trained and certified and then placed in jobs in very high demand career fields currently at the moment here in Syracuse, particularly in construction and in the technology fields. So the letter does enumerate the specific focus areas. That includes electrical and mechanical maintenance, HVAC, sidewalk construction and CDL, advanced manufacturing and software development. And so the Center State team is here. They can obviously answer a lot more detailed questions about those particular programs and who their partner organizations are to deliver the trainings. There is a degree of wraparound services included with this program, so the hope is that we can really not just identify people for trainings, but really make sure they're successful when they are in workforce development programming. That could mean offering some of them transportation. That could mean providing them with other counseling and assistance to make sure that they are fully capable of completing those programs. And then, of course, the very important job placement activities, which is the whole point, to make sure people actually get placed in jobs. So with that, I'm happy to answer some high-level questions, or if you have real specific questions, I would welcome our folks at Center State to explain a little bit more.
Okay, Councilor. I have three right off the bat, and then I'll pass it on to my committee colleagues, and I'll just kind of throw them out there now. One, how much of this is, what is the administrative cost associated with this? One. Two, is any of this training in relation to the 81 project? And then third, as relates to training, how much of this will be spent on training?
Got it.
And before the administrative, I never heard the total. What is the total amount?
The total is 824,000. 824,000.
Hey, Dominic, if you can remember, let me add one more question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Or maybe I'll save that one. Go ahead.
Okay. So first of all, Dominic Robinson, I'm the Vice President of Economic Inclusion at Center State CEO and oversee the Work Train Initiative. I'm joined here today by our partners in training. So we have SUNY EOC, OCM BOCES, and our newly formed Syracuse Build Initiative out of CNY Works, new director, Chris Montgomery. We have several employers here today. Happy to dig into all that later or bring other folks up if necessary. So the first question about administrative costs, zero. We have used other grants, other funds, other means to develop and design programs. We've assembled over 60 employers across the 9 programs funded here. We've built in wraparound services and our staff time to kind of keep it all together. None of that is being funded through this request. This request is going 100% into training and or other costs associated with the students themselves. So that's a pretty straightforward answer. As far as the breakdown between actual training and other components, a majority is focused on training dollars. Every sector that we're training for is a higher skilled sector that requires a longer term training in order for someone to be truly successful and be able to succeed. We also want to be able to accommodate people who are underemployed but skilled, but often have times getting out of their current situation to get trained and get into other jobs. So in many of our programs, we've included stipends for people to use those to kind of stay afloat during training. We piloted this past summer with the Pathways to Apprenticeship program that we launched with Common Counselor Hudson through Syracuse Build. And not only was that a huge success with a 100% placement rate, we were able to find 350 city residents to apply within a couple weeks' time, and we're turning away really great candidates, got a waiting list. That stipend really seemed to help people get over the hump when otherwise some of the trainings are inaccessible.
So all 20 of those people have been placed in a job already?
16, but we had 4 leave the program during the program for personal reasons, situational reasons, but everyone who completed the program is in the process of getting placed. Some are already on the job.
Okay.
There were more people lining up to bring them into their union halls than there were available slots. So, sorry, Counselor, I know I'm missing one of your questions.
That's about administrative costs, and how much will be spent on training?
Sorry, how much what?
How much of the money goes toward training costs?
The actual breakdown between training and everything else, I would have to, hold on, let me get into our proposal here. So out of the total, we have $528,948 going to training, nearly $18,000 going to equipment to build out some labs at SUNY EOC, and the remainder, $228,000 going to student stipends, and then $7,400 is reserved for transportation, because some of our training is in partnership with the likes of OC and BOCES, for example, HVAC, which is a really high demand industry, as well as the electronical maintenance tech position, which is in high demand. They're the right partner for it, but they're out in Liverpool, so we got to get people out there. So those are the kind of, that's the smallest item, but a really critical one to ensuring success.
Councilor Kearney, just one more before I go past to you. Absolutely. So, what, this is relative to 81, for example. And I don't know
the 81, yep.
Obviously there'll be project labor agreements in place. When we talk about job sustainability, how realistic are we as it relates to the people in training now? I can't expect that they would be there long or be employed for some long period of time when you have PLAs in place.
So the 81 component is not hugely featured within this proposal. I think the primary 81 is allowing people to get their construction level commercial driver's licenses. So we have a couple different CDL programs funded through this, one in the very near term up at NTTS in Liverpool, and then another one that we're working on developing in partnership with SUNY EOC for 2022. Those are jobs that are in exceedingly high demand across the region, will be very critical for I-81, especially for debris removal and all the other components related to bringing trucks in and out. So we don't have major concerns around the sustainability of those jobs, specifically as it relates to 81. The rest of the jobs that are comprised in here are jobs that are just hugely in demand, period, whether it's in high-tech manufacturing, coding, or specialized trades within the construction sector. HVAC, for example, it's been years where we hear from employers who they're just clamoring to get those folks. We do have employers here today, TCG Player, Huber Brewer, ICM Controls, and Upstate Medical, who we're working with on both the construction, facilities maintenance, and the tech side. And we have more willing to come to next week's study session. But between the data we've pulled, which we're happy to share, the employers that we've rallied, over 60, like I said, we have a lot of strong enthusiasm regardless of any kind of mandates. It's people, need qualified workers. And just to kind of contextualize this a little bit, I think historically we've seen a lot of job training. It's quick hit, short term. We're not investing real resources to get people fully skilled and trained up. So we do see a lot of trainings that leads to, last person on the job, first person off the job. These are all designed to be long-term sustained careers. Every single one of these, that's the design, and that's what we're talking to the employers about, and those are the jobs we're targeting.
All right, I was going to acknowledge that Councilor White joined us. He just stepped out. He'll be back. I may have additional questions. I'm going to pass over to Councilor Carney.
Thank you.
So I have a few questions. Just, I guess initially, what's the outreach process?
So
we have a list of individuals.
Sure. So I think it's important to acknowledge that we, on the work training team, are not doing the training. We're not doing the human service provision. So we're working with a network of partners to deploy these services. We're also working with a network of partners to go and find people. So we have we have a contract with the Community Center Collaborative and other local organizations to go out and recruit into their networks. We're tapping into our workforce system, both through CNY Works and Jobs Plus, to tap into their clients. We ourselves have helped with Syracuse to build a really strong social media presence that was able to help us get that 350 applicant pool. We have been organizing in tech what we've been calling learning communities, where we have a number of individuals coming together and actually just learning about the tech field and what it has to offer and how their skills might align with that. We've been doing those every couple months with groups of community residents, which has been leading to them getting into trainings or opportunities from that. We've also built a network. Dr. Johanna Rogers on our team has built a network called Tech and Culture, which is actually a group of predominantly young tech professionals of color who are, doing networking and professional development together, but then also using that as a base to do outreach and mentorship and create, kind of a sense of community in a field that is not diverse enough. And so that's also a strong pipeline that we have developed, and we're starting to use that to recruit out of the community and elsewhere.
And do we have an idea of how many positions are available, or what our goal is of how many individuals we want to get to?
Absolutely. Well, the goal here is to place approximately 140 people into jobs. Every single one of these occupational clusters that we're targeting has way more demand that we're going to fill, right? And so that's, on the one hand, you hate that you're not filling everything, but we also know that these are the jobs that have been really hard to fill for a long time. And so we're hoping that this is getting us a foothold into each of these clusters. So I can just kind of give you a quick, right now in, for example, electronic maintenance tech, we have 749 jobs open in the county in the last 90 days with a starting wage of $24.65 on average. In the case of software development, right, we have 128 jobs open in the last 90 days in the county with a starting wage of $41.86. HVAC, in the last 90 days, 302 jobs open with a starting wage of $26.07. We're going to pilot in 2022 a sidewalk asphalt program where there's only about 15 to 20 jobs open in the last 20 days. But the reason we're doing this is specifically because of the ordinance that you all passed, specifically knowing that there will be some sort of opportunity around incentivizing or mandating or whatever ends up being contractors to hire out of the community to do that sidewalk work. So that's something that we'll be working on with SUNY EOC. In CDL, there's 663 jobs open in the last 90 days with a starting wage of about $23 an hour. In other construction fields, 118 jobs with $20 an hour starting wages. So it gives you a sense just of what we're looking at and where we are using both data and our relationships with employers to inform these decisions.
And just, I guess my last question is just, I'm sure the range is very different between each different job, but how long is the training process? Like how long do we think this is going to go with certain positions? Is it going to be, 6 months? Is it going to be a full year? Is it going to be a couple months? What
Yeah,
are we
nothing
looking
will be
at?
that long. I think the longest we have is 16 weeks, Liza? Oh, no, you're right, 6 months for coding. HVAC is 6 months as well. So 6 months would be the longest.
Okay.
And then we have a few that would probably be 4 to 5 weeks, but so between that range.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all.
Are you done? Quick question. So, do any of your trainers will be speaking other than English language?
That's a great question. We have, I know we have at least one pilot tech program not being asked for funding in here in Spanish language. Like, yeah.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Which is not part of this proposal. But no, we have not secured any non-English speaking training.
So, is that something you would look forward to, or?
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, we're already trying to pilot it in this particular case. Historically, what we've done, where we've had a high level of non-English speakers or non-native English speakers in a class, is we've embedded vocational ESL or ESOL in classrooms with instruction. We've had a lot of success with that. We've also run some of our upstart classes in small business in Spanish, but yeah, that's something we're grappling with. So I don't know if you want to speak more to that, Liza, or you feel like, yeah.
So there are many programs that could provide the interpretation services in the classroom.
Yes. Sorry, Mari? Oh, yeah. Okay. So in the BOCES program, this is something we've done a lot with BOCES in the past, embedding the language instructor in the classroom. So that is something that we're looking at for that.
Okay. So,
Oh, okay. And at student EOC, they do OSHA 10 and 12 or 20 in Spanish, which would be incorporated into plenty of this. Thank you.
I have a question, couple questions, Dom. So, first question, are all of these trainings city-focused?
Correct. That every single person that we train will be an underemployed Syracuse resident with a target on communities of color, women, and transitioning veterans. But they will be city residents, period. Most of the training will happen in the city, with the exception of those that are happening at a place like BOCES or up at NTTS, where they're the best training providers, but we will be providing transportation.
And then my second question is, can you talk a little bit more about the tech training?
Sure. We actually have, as a part of our partnership with Syracuse Surge and our trying to birth several tech training programs as part of that, we're really focused right now on two major areas, well, three, but two in this proposal. One is software development and coding, and the other is in high-tech manufacturing. In software development, we have a 6-month training program that we've developed with Lemoyne and Hack Upstate, targeting low-income, non-college enrollees. They're not enrolled at Lemoyne. It's a side Erie 21 program at Lemoyne for job seekers, and that's 6 months of intensive training on coding languages, as well as kind of other tech-related skills. And then the other software-based program that we're actually piloting with this money that Liza has been working on consistently now with several employers is kind of like an apprenticeship program. People would come in, we would kind of vet them, they would be hired, and then they would actually earn and learn while on the job and kind of grow into a software developer role, where Hack Upstate / Lemoyne faculty would be coming into the employer and doing customized training, and then we'd also be doing wraparound professional development supports. So that's in the coding side. In high-tech manufacturing, we for years have been running a program in partnership with EOC as our training provider called ProTrain, which is predominantly focused on basic manufacturing skills with the ability to overlay high-tech electronic assembly on top of that to date. It's been pretty successful. That's being proposed ideally in anticipation of the JMA opening on the south side, though we're not entirely sure what the timing is and some of the dynamics around that, but regardless, there's a huge demand for that skill. And so even if it's not at JMA, it will be in high demand. The other is something that we're launching again, with BOCES and then also with OCC partnering on it as well, but that's a electronical maintenance technician training, which is really a lot of the folks that are on site in major manufacturers keeping those high-tech machines working. And that's a really in-demand job, and there has not been a lot of organized training around it. And so we're really excited to be working on that.
Hey, Dominic,
Yes.
Dominic, well, I saw Councilor Green was going to say something, but what we may have to do is hold this for another committee meeting. There's clearly a lot of questions. We did almost 25 minutes on this topic, and I'm pretty sure there's more questions from our councilors. Councilor Green, did you have anything?
No, I just had a brief comment building off Councilor Peniagua's for recruitment in the Spanish community too. I think would be helpful because even if you're teaching them English there, they may not know to get in the door. So
Noted. Thank you.
All right, so yeah, I appreciate it. I'm likely going to hold this for a committee meeting so that we can get all of our questions flushed out. You know, including the fact that I'm not sure if the budget was included in the budget that you described was included in the letter we received. Also, just you know, we'll have questions on performance metrics and the like, Jen. So let's table this for now until I schedule that committee meeting for a more robust discussion.
I might just make a quick note that our hope was to see passage in the next council session only because we're hoping to get a program launched
I'm sure.
with BOCES at the end of September in HVAC. It's all ready to go. We have employers lined up. So that would be my only request for consideration is given the high demand and the readiness, we would love to get this done.
Dom, I understand. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
What we got next, Jen?
That's my only item. Heather, I think you guys
All right.
have items?
Zoning?
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Good afternoon, councilors. I have two special permits. We'll go with 714 Catherine Street first. This is a restaurant within a convenience store. I think this used to be Drop Subs. It was also known as 1315 Lodi Street.
Any questions from my committee members?
I'm sorry, which one is it currently? Do we know the name of, because it's a
Hopefully-
convenience store?
Hopefully
or-
nothing until you approve it. The name of it will be, let's see, if I can look at the signage here. 7 Days Mini Mart and Deli.
That's the one that caught on fire that they first opened, right?
Could be.
The old Drex Subs.
Yes, it was a Jack Subs. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You good with that, Council?
Yeah, I'm fine with it, yeah.
Good with that, Council?
Yes.
Any other council have any question relative to that? If not, have a vote to move it on to the agenda. Councilor
I'm okay.
Kearney?
Yep. I'm fine. Yep.
Next item, Heather?
Okay, the next one is, this is special permit for a care home at 800 to 808 Court Street and 1017 Danforth. This is Joseph's House for Women.
That's okay too.
Yeah.
All right, so that's on the agenda as well.
Okay, that's all I have.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Did I have something? Yeah, I thought so. Commissioner Collins?
Thanks, Councilors. Michael Collins, Commissioner for Neighborhood and Business Development. We have a request for a public hearing related to an application to New York State Housing Community Renewal on behalf of Home Headquarters for $4 million. This would be an application that would allow Home Headquarters to substantially rehabilitate 33 properties and demo 10 that are beyond repair. HCR does require that there's a public hearing prior to application. So what we've got in front of you is a two-part letter that is one request that the council hold a public hearing before the next meeting, and then at that meeting we would request permission to apply.
I'm sorry, I don't know if it's in the letter, but do we have a list of those properties? Like the 33 rentals and the 10 blighted structures that we're planning on doing, or is that just a tentative number and we're going to go through and decide?
So I believe that's a tentative number, but Carrie Quaglia from Home Headquarters is
Okay.
here, so if you don't mind, we can.
Yeah. Yes.
Kerry Quaglia with Home Headquarters. We don't have, it's not a site-specific application.
Okay.
Again, just as a little background, normally the city's not eligible to apply for these funds because these are community development block grant funds that go to all the communities in New York State that are not entitlement communities. So this is sort of a once-in-a-generation opportunity to bring additional CDBG dollars into the city of Syracuse. This would have a special emphasis on healthy housing and also leased purchase housing, where you take it from a rental to a home ownership situation. Okay?
All right, thank you.
You go with it, Council Conley?
I'm all set there.
All right.
You're all set?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're all set.
And clerk was reminding me of clarification just on the timing of meeting and then request for approval, so we'll make
Okay.
sure we get that right. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you. Is he here? Is there anyone here to present on the, what is it, Saratoga Associates item? I understand Owen's not here. No?
He wrote a letter, Counselor, saying he wasn't going to be in, but I have no objections to that. I sit on that committee. That's for the study, correct?
Yeah, for the lakefront
Yeah, for the
development.
lakefront. I have no objections. They've been
About you,
in
Council
contact with us, so they want to move that forward.
You
so-
okay?
If you're comfortable with it, I mean, I think it's over in your district.
Yeah, it is, yeah, so.
I'm fine with it if you're comfortable with
So,
it,
Jim.
extending it.
Jim, we're going to move that item onto the agenda, all right? Was that the last one for economic development? Look at that, I got done just in time.
Yeah,
Very impressive.
Ah,
you haven't lost it.
Councilor Green, I believe it's on you next. Thank you.
Neighborhood's next, right?
Yeah, it's on, we're gonna do the neighborhood preservation meeting.
It's my bad.
Councilors on this committee are Councilor Green, Bay, and Driscoll, and of course myself, Councilor Allen. I'm gonna start with Michelle, if you want.
Afternoon, councilors. Michelle Spansky, Neighborhood and Business Development. All of the properties that are on the upcoming agenda for consideration are all vacant lots. We have 407 Bellevue Ave. This is a city-owned lot in District 4. It is being transferred as part of a larger area assembly that's being prompted by a lot of neighborhood complaints that we've been getting. The idea with the lots is that we can get some site control with it and do some crime prevention through environmental design interventions in the lots. This particular lot is one that we are looking to sell to Peace Inc., which operates a Head Start facility across the street, to try to get some additional site control in the area and try to balance out some of the activity that is problematic for the neighbors. 319 Cortlandt Ave, District 4, owes approximately $12,000. This is a small landlocked trolley lot that the adjacent owner is looking to purchase. 406 Delaware Street in Grace, District 2, owes over $113,000. This is a lot that is looking to be held as part of site assembly within the Blueprint 15 area.
Why would, this is technically not in the Blueprint 15 area, why was it?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Sorry, this note is backwards. So 406 Delaware is one that is an infill
Okay.
site assembly. I apologize for that error. 210-12 Glenwood Avenue is in District 3, owes roughly $20,000. This is a lot that Home Headquarters had initially invested some money in making some site improvements. They put in a fence and some garden beds, so we are looking to see if they would potentially be interested in entering into some sort of lease, or if not, sell to the adjacent neighbor.
So since we have Carrie here, is that a?
Yeah, I think Caitlin and had already approached about it, but
Can I jump in with a question?
sure.
I want to comment on that one and the one you mentioned in regards to peace. I've always had a long-standing issue with our inadequate use of land resources. To me, I think a house should be standing on everything. How much property you talking about giving, you talking about selling the
So
piece?
this particular lot, an important reason why this is what we're trying to do in this situation is that this is all within the floodplain, which makes it particularly challenging to do any sort of public subsidy for infill or anything of that nature. It would be totally incumbent on a private property owner to fund that, so.
On a street that's never been flooded?
It is legally within the
Yeah,
designation
I
of the federal
understand the
floodplain.
floodplains, but we have our debates about that. There's been no flood over here in I don't know how many years. I wasn't even alive when we had one.
Understood.
And that wasn't a flood, it was a pipe break over in Bellevue. I'm just concerned about us selling off properties. We're going back to the same habits we had before, where we're really squandering resources instead of making our best investment, especially with an underperforming tax base. I don't think it's intelligent to continue to consider selling off properties to adjacent property owners or anything similar. So I'm hoping that the land bank would do better consideration in that respect. Otherwise, my position is always to hold vacant properties if we're not making the best use of them, Councilor Allen. Thank you.
Sorry, this one's actually on my block, and the house, they had a vacant house for like 20 years, and then it got an emergency demo. It's a legal demo sometime. And then the neighbors basically claimed it and made it a community garden. So it's like an active community garden, and the neighbor has done a lot to engage, the neighbor who really runs it, and the house next door was also vacant at the time, and then that house got repaired by Home Headquarters and sold to a private owner. And it's like a 40-foot lot that has no parking. But anyways, the neighbors have made it like really an official active community garden, and they were trying to get the school, Roberts, to be able to participate. And when the school basically said, what's the status of the ownership? And then it came up, because it had always been, oh, maybe there's a way to make it a community garden without it going to the land bank, but it seems that's not the case. So I think it has to transfer to the land bank in order to be officially recognized as a community garden. So this is sort of like the woman who really runs the community garden was asking permission, and then it kind of like brought up all this other stuff. But I would just add that to the discussion.
So it's the neighbor that lives next door that's actually
She lives
taking
one
care
door
of the
up, so
property?
she's not an immediately adjacent neighbor.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
The immediately adjacent lots are, there's a two-family who the landlord does not want to cut any more grass, so he doesn't want it. And then there's the house the Home Headquarters repaired, and basically it is adjacent, but at this point it's sort of got a number of community garden kind of things added to it, so it's harder to
Councilor
trade
Allen,
that
I
way.
get the logic if the garden's already there. But that habit has to be broken at some point. You know, I understand, the position about the fact that it's being there. You certainly don't want to disrupt anything that's already there that the community has already invested in. But the habit of squandering land resources is a bad practice we've had for over 40 years. Somebody has to do something different.
What about the owner? What's the owner saying?
Just to confirm, we're talking about 210 Glenwood, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
The owner is Bank of America.
Okay.
So-
Now, what do they do? Writing letters to them, have they responded at all, nothing?
Historically, with all of our outreach that we have done to them as a part of properties that they own, any type of vacant properties, they're not a bank that we have any sort of great response in terms of servicers. And again, as with every property that is transferred before the foreclosure would actually take place, there would be ample amounts of notification that would go through the appropriate title channels, so.
And the person, and the person that won it, have they said what they want to do with it, beside what is already there?
I think that's part of the conversation that Mr. Rudd just introduced a little bit, is that the goal is it's maintaining the existing community garden infrastructure. So the idea would be that it would, Home Headquarters would have potentially some sort of lease purchase arrangement, or it could be sold to one of the adjacent owners to maintain the existing infrastructure.
Okay, Councilor Allen, I'll talk to the person that is interested to just figure out what more is it there that they want to do with it beside the community garden. And I should know by next time if we want to continue with it or not.
I think the desired path of the of the people who run that is that in order to be recognized, it has to transfer to the land bank in order to be in their garden program, which has a number of standards that say you upkeep it, and they're willing to do that, but that's really the only option available to have it officially a community garden. So there's no other path for the council to just give it to recognize it and hold it. It basically, when the land bank got created, it makes it so it all has to funnel that way.
So I imagine this is tax delinquent, right, Michelle?
Yes, that is.
So Bank of America's been stiffing us, or what? What's the
Yes,
story?
that is why it is here before you, is because it is tax delinquent. Yeah.
I don't like
dollars.
the idea of that.
A lot of money, yeah.
See it.
Okay, so I'll do that. All right, you can continue.
All right. Next one, 250 Leon Street, District 4 owes over $100,000. Again, this is part of site assembly within the Blueprint 15 adjacent development area. Same situation with 408 MLK East, District 4 owes over $85,000. Other properties within that same category are 546-48 Oakwood, owes $58,000, and 553 Oakwood owes over $75,000. 178 Milner Ave, District 5 owes just under $35,000. Again, this is a very small, non-buildable trolley lot that the adjacent owner-occupant is interested in purchasing. And then lastly, we have 125 Nelson Street, District 2, owes over $54,000. This is another error in the notes. This is specifically being targeted for a possible site assembly for infill development. There, any other questions?
No, I did have a chance this morning to talk to Stephanie over at Blueprint about the Oakwood Ave ones, because I was concerned that these were lots that the church Tucker was interested in, but she did tell me that these were ones that we were trying to set aside for Blueprint 15, so I was okay with that. All right, so I'll make a motion to put these items on the agenda. Can I get a second? Second. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. All right. And then I believe I have one more, an encroachment.
Good morning, councilors. Jake Dishaw, Director of Code Enforcement. This item is to seek permission for an encroachment at 218-30 Harrison Street. It's an 8-story office building known as the Syracuse Building. Tenant to the far west is or was Panini's. There's an overhang as you enter the main entrance to the building. So the encroachment is seeking permission for encroachment for the 10-foot canopy and then tenant signs on both the east and west side of the main entrance to be determined.
Okay. Any questions? No?
Wait, is it still Panini's or is someone else going in there?
So definitely to the east is going to be a future tenant. I'm actually not sure if they're still there. Okay. Do you know?
I don't know. I've got to go check.
Well, anyway, if you are familiar with the tenant signs that they had, that's what they're seeking the encroachment for. So, as we catch these encroachments that are existing, we're bringing them before you to seek permission. Thank you.
All right. I'll make a motion to add this item onto the agenda. And can I have a second? All right, thank you.
Councilor Allen, I was just wondering if I could say something to Councilor Bay's point. I think maybe we should look at situations where some of these vacant properties, certainly the land bank, and I'm the chairman of the land bank, we end up with these properties and then we're stuck with trying to figure out what to do with them. So maybe to Councilor Bay's point, we should maybe look at the whole apparatus regarding how we determine what's a usable piece of property for us. I know for years we've heard that there's got to be a certain frontage, and I was wondering if there can be any kind of legislation that would change that. that would make it amenable to maybe to look at situations where we can build housing, especially since there's such a housing crisis, it seems, in this county.
Well, yeah, that's kind of the issue, Councilor Hogan. I'll make this quick, Councilor Allen. We're kind of like a living and talking contradiction. The complaints about underfunding for schools, the complaints about underperforming tax bases while we're still squandering perfectly performing tax parcels or tax parcels that have the potential to perform. You know, and I've been here now for 10 years. Council President is a witness. I've been saying the same thing for 10 years, you know, and somehow we still keep doing the same thing, you know, and I don't need to quote the clinical definition for insanity. It's almost cliche at this point. But, you know, you know what it's like. You want HBO, you want Cinemax, right? You want stars, but you're going to get that at the expense of your necessities, your utilities, you know, your mortgage, your taxes. This is what we're doing. This is what we continue to do. At some point, somebody has to realize that the brick and mortar should get most of the attention. I'm sorry, you just standing there.
May I?
So, yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Councilors, I want to say we recognize this concern, and the amount of energy that we've put this year, we think is rolling in exactly that same direction that you're talking about, around site selection, what's possible and what's not. Your point that you made earlier about the floodplain and whether or not it really should be a floodplain, we're on the same page. Completely agree with you. Recognizing that and I think you all understand what the unique use of this property is that we're talking about, and so there's community benefit to it. We want to build, and we are very frustrated with the situations with the floodplains where HUD will not allow us to. So that itself is an issue. But we agree with you around the idea of the fact that property needs to be, we need to make sure we're making the best use of the property. We've seen a lot of work go into that with the infill project this year, and continuing on that path. So we're absolutely happy to continue that conversation, definitely. So I wanted to recognize what you were saying and acknowledge it. That's all. Thanks.
I yield, Councilor Allen.
I'm all set.
Who's next? Who's up next?
I believe it's finance as the next one. So begin with the first items are tax correction related.
Hello, councilors. David Clifford, Commissioner of Assessment. We have 3 items for the committee's consideration. I'll start with the first 2, which are pretty simple. They're corrections of special charges that were put on properties where we've been notified after the fact that the codes department didn't feel that these charges should have been put on the tax roll. That's 1420 North Salina and 1927 Erie Boulevard West. The third one is a correction based on an exemption. This is the Temple Concord property. This year, in January, we didn't receive their application for exemption, so we made the property taxable. We were aware that the property is under contract to sell. Once, of course, the tax bill came out, they still haven't sold the property, so we had both the first deputy and the deputy commissioner go out and inspect the property. The property does still have some use to the Temple Concord Society, and as such, we did get an exemption application, and we're asking that the exemption be reinstated for 1 more year. Are there any questions?
I'm okay, Councilor.
The members of the Finance Committee okay with these items?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The next one is revenue anticipation note from the school district.
Good afternoon, Suzanne Slack, Chief Financial Officer for the school district. Nice to see you all, glad you're back. I am here today to ask your permission to borrow up to $30 million this fall as a short-term borrowing for cash flow purposes. I think most of you know about 75% of our state aid comes in the last 6 months of the school year. I've tried to ask teachers if we could delay payroll, and it didn't go over well. So we do need to borrow money to have cash in the bank for the November payroll. I think this year will be a very short-term borrowing. We should be able to pay back by March. What will happen over the next few months is we will true up July, August, and September cash receipts and disbursements, reproject what our cash needs are with the Treasury Department here at the city, as well as with our financial advisors, and then issue a short-term borrowing. This year, there's a very slim chance that we may not need to borrow at all, and it really rests on the whole ARPA-CURSA funding that we've been talking about. These funding streams for the school district are multi-year. It's not all of the grant funding in 1 year. Typically, with federal funds, they advance 20% of the money to the district to help you pay for startup costs. If they do that with ARPA and CURSA, and if those funds are received in October, we won't need to borrow at all. So I can keep you posted on that. At this point, we do have full approval on the CURSA funding, so that's $48 million over 2 years. If they advance 20%, that would be about $9 million that we could receive as early as October. The ARPA funding, our application is in. They've extended the due date another 30 days. So I don't know exactly when we'll get a final award notice, hopefully in September. If that comes through, we should receive those funds in late October, early November. I am happy to answer any questions you may have.
How does the 30 million number compare to past years?
So we have been running between 25 and 35 million for several years, with the exception of last year. You may recall last year we borrowed about $89 million. We had heard from the governor there would be funding reductions and funding delays. So we borrowed additional money in anticipation of that, which did not end up being needed.
Other questions on this item?
Suzanne, did you say this is for payroll stuff, salary and all of that?
Yes, it is.
Okay, purely, what about the other stuff that may need money, like, things that are outside of payroll? What do you do?
So about 85 cents of every dollar we spend is on personnel and benefits. That's why I say this funding is really needed for that. The portion that we spend on vendors is so insignificant, it doesn't weigh in heavily on the need to borrow. So, and our payrolls are the 15th and 31st every month, where vendors, we have some flexibility with paying them.
Any other questions on this one?
No way, no.
Are all the members of the Finance Committee comfortable with this item? Yes, okay. We'll move it forward. And I believe that's all the items we have for finance. And then there are not education items from Councilor Peniagua.
There's none.
So we'll move over to the Parks Committee.
Commissioner. I hope we're on the same page here, Commissioner. We got a lot of items here, so.
I always have a lot of
I
items.
know.
Good afternoon, Julie Lafayette, Commissioner of Parks and Recreation. Item number 1 is to enter into agreement for Fight for Hearts. This is a program that we offer every single year, and now that we're getting ready to open it back up and hopefully get to some sense of normalcy within our community centers, this is an agreement so that the instructor can come offer that programming.
Whereabouts? Which places?
That is usually offered at Magnorelli Center.
Okay. Is there any chance of?
We can expand anywhere you'd like.
Well,
It's offered in a gym. It's best held in a gym, so Magnorelli has the largest gym. We can certainly, this instructor loves to get out as much as he can for youth, adults, any type of physical fitness.
Seals? Could we do it at Seals?
Yes.
Okay.
Next item is to enter into agreement with Red Cross. This is an annual thing that we do as well with our lifeguards. We have certified instructors who are Red Cross trained. They train our own lifeguards in-house. They offer training. So this is so that we accept a fee from the Red Cross, and then we issue that same dollar amount payment to the Red Cross. So this isn't a budget item. It's just we accept these funds, then we issue it right back out to Red Cross.
And this is for this year going into next year.
Yes, so apologies, this, with the opening of the pools, this should have been brought to you around June.
So this will be like, is Valley Pool's going to open, right?
Valley Pool and Southwest opened on Monday. They're open. So this covered any certification courses that we did this summer, which wasn't many because if you think about it, our pools were already open by July 1. So this covers any future certification courses that we're going to offer from now until June 30th of next
And
year.
I imagine obviously people at Valley Pool and Southwest are already certified and all that, so.
This is for all of our staff.
Okay.
Some staff can get certified elsewhere, but majority of them get certified with us.
Okay. Any questions from the Parks Committee? Councilor Allen, Councilor Driscoll, Councilor Paniagua? No? Okay.
The next item is to amend, and this one is sort of related to item 32. So if you remember, a few weeks ago, we allocated from the 2021 capital account for some paving dollars, and we listed some parks in there. A lot of the parks and parking lots listed in there are additionally listed on item 32 out of the 21-22 capital, and we're also amending an old capital account because we have a lot of priority areas and we just can't cover them all with 100,000 that was already allocated, and it's all about the math. So by amending this old ordinance with the Kirk, Meacham, Wadsworth, Schiller, Thornton, with those listed between these three accounts, we'd like to address a lot of paving so that we can get all these high priority, and it's really just about a math, getting it all to work. So you'll see that's why there's a lot of repeat locations, because we're going to try to use all the accounts to get as much done. This also will cover, the amended ordinance will also cover the Westmoreland. That one, prices have continued to go up, so the Bayheim grants, this is just to cover a little bit of extra on the city's behalf.
So what I would like, Commissioner, is if you put it in a priority basis, like what's going to be done? Are you going to be able to cover all this, or is there other monies out there?
So we have 100,000 from the 20/21 capital account, and then today I'm coming to you with the 21/22 capital with a lot of the same locations listed. The total amount between those two accounts is 200,000. We're in the process of getting current quotes for all of those locations right now, and if we can get them all to work with 200,000 plus the little bit of amended amount, we'll get them all done, and they have a little bit of confidence that they think they can get some of these projects completed before winter.
So Wadsworth, Schiller, Kirk, Lincoln, and Homer and Wheaton will all be done?
If the math adds up. We're getting quotes right now. We're getting the quotes right now to see if it all can be done under 200,000, then it will all get done.
If we come short,
then I will.
which one is going to, get cut?
I will, so if it's all right with you, I will try to get a rush on those quotes so that by study session Wednesday next week, I can give you the dollar amounts that we have for each one. And if I can tell you right then and there if we're going to fall short, assuming the contractor can get us a quote by then.
Okay, now, there's not any of the, maybe Kirk. I mean, ARPA funding would be, Corey, you could use ARPA funding for Kirk, correct? Kirk's in the census tract?
It's in the designated census tract, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just wondering why the Parks Department is worrying about doing this out of capital improvement when there are certain entities that could be used with the ARPA funding. I'm asking, let's be nimble here. That's what I'm asking for. Nimbleness. I mean, I think the council, we agree, if we could pave parks using ARPA funding.
We
in
could.
the census tracts, right?
Yeah, I mean, we could. I think it's, then those things that maybe we plan to do with the ARPA funding, we would end up using capital funding for. I mean, either way, we'll get it done either way if there's a
Well, I
preference
think
to
there's
use
a
ARPA.
desire. I mean, Commissioner, you could, there are other park roads besides the ones you list here, correct? They could be addressed.
There are, and it's really hard to prioritize. I mean, as much as we have potholes, we also have infrastructure that's crumbling that's also in census tract. And like Corey said, I mean, we can get this done right now with capital funds while we figure out the ARPA projects, which are going to be in census tracts. So we're still going to be making improvements in these parks. I think what we've been trying from the parks planning team is for the ARPA funds, not only to address safety issues, but really things that more of the public can come use and draw them out to our parks, because as we saw in the pandemic, people came in droves to our parks, correct? But they found playgrounds that didn't have adequate surfacing under them. They found all these things. So I guess my goal, or the way I've been thinking about it, is use our capital dollars as we have every single year for paving for these safety hazards, which are these priority ones, because these are ones that are in really rough shape, whereas use the ARPA for where we can really get more bang for our buck for people who come to the park, youth, because I mean, A parent cares about a pothole,
Commissioner,
who's driving their car, but a
we're-
kid who walks to the park doesn't care about the pothole.
Commissioner, we're on the same page.
Right.
I think many of the councilors have expressed to me that we would be very receptive to spending more ARPA money in the parks.
I'm receptive to as many projects as you'll give me.
Excellent. And now we have a real parks guy.
Budget Director
Budget
Rudd.
Director.
Hi, councilors. I would just say, because seeing, we do have this draft allocation for the ARPA funds, so we're planning to allocate those funds that way. And then Parks has a portion of those funds, and we do need to continue to coordinate between the city-funded capital projects and the ARPA projects, but the strategy is not to just take capital projects that happen to be ARPA eligible in Parks and make them ARPA projects.
See,
But we are going to use the Parks, the allocation in the ARPA funds to Parks, we're going to make sure it's ARPA eligible. But that doesn't mean we're going to just take all the ones that are, and we literally have a meeting where we're supposed to talk
Tim,
today
I
about
think you just argued
coordinating
against
that.
yourself there. Can't we use the capital money for the areas that are outside the census tracts and use the ARPA money for the ones that qualify?
So
Couldn't we do that?
can I make a comment on that too? So our capital funds, the current capital allotment for the Parks Department is there's no account that's higher than generally 100,000 or 150,000, right? I can get a lot of projects done for 100,000, but when we're looking at the projects for ARPA, these are repairs that are in the $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 that I've never been able to touch with my capital account because I just don't have those dollar amounts. So again, my reasoning has been continue to do these small projects that we can continue to do with the capital the way it's been spelled out, unless there's going to be major changes to the way the capital is spelled out for the Parks Department. But right now, the capital, the way it's been done, is $100,000 for paving for me. It's not $500,000 to fix a building that has major leaks in it. It's not $700,000 for a pool that's caving in. So to me, I'm trying to use the ARPA for these big projects that I've never been able to even get close to without a grant. So if that's I guess the reasoning and the justification for why I've been going for capital for paving, because again, with $100,000 I can get many projects done. With ARPA, I haven't been able to do these things.
Any questions from my fellow councilors on this? So I guess we can expect some projects from the Parks Department that are going to be using ARPA funding in the amounts you're talking about.
So I have a meeting with budget right after this. As soon as this is over, we're meeting. I have a list with me right now of larger projects. I mean, we want these water features that everybody wants. We want these major, we want a universal playground that we just, yes, there's going to be larger projects and they're not $50,000 paving projects.
Are we all in agreement when we want to see money spent in the parks, sir, councilors?
Just one more context I would add is with the ARPA money, we try to have it go toward bigger projects so that we're not managing oversight on 10 projects when it could be one. So, and to the extent Parks essentially now has extra capital dollars because of ARPA, there is some figuring out of what the best way, which should be ARPA and which shouldn't be. And I would say I don't think we're 100% locked in where we are, but there's a general, the ARPA plan says we're going to do this. Well, a couple of projects are pre-identified and then some are kind of to be determined, but it's essentially there's additional capital money in parks. And then we will have to do some of the, which is ARPA eligible. Probably the biggest ARPA eligible projects will be the things that end up ARPA, and we'll end up doing more small projects with city capital funds is how I think of it.
Tim, we got faith in you.
Yeah, I guess I have a question, and this may be a dumb question, but, because I do understand that, you know, having formerly chaired parks, that the allotments of, you know, cash capital, like whatever we've done, projects that we've done, unless we got some pot of money from, you know, then Senator DeFrancisco or Assemblyman Magarelli, you know, it was, yeah, 100, 150, maybe sometimes. But is that a policy that we've set in place, or is it just traditionally we don't spend more than that allotment out of cash capital? I mean, does it say anywhere that we can't spend that, or is that just been, you know?
I will add that I just came last week for $300,000 though, so there is a few exceptions, but
that's, I guess, yeah. I mean, that's just traditionally what we've done in the past? Like, you know, we don't traditionally go over that.
I can only speak to the last 3 years.
Okay, yeah.
Do you have anything to add?
There's no inherent constraint on
Okay.
the capital budgets by department. It depends on the need and the priority and
Okay.
all that.
Okay, go on, Commissioner.
Thanks.
Okay. I only have one other item, and then I'm going to pass it over to Steve Harris. But so items number 28 and 29 are related. 28, 29 are related to each other. So we did have previously authorized funds for Passes Arboretum, which is now not in the not in the census tract. So we still want that project to continue. It's still an issue that needs to be resolved. So this is to authorize capital dollars to now get that project done at Passes Arboretum, the replacement of the fence.
Any questions from my fellow councilors?
Passes Arboretum, it's kitty corner from Burnett Park.
Is it okay, Councilor Allen?
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Steve Harris, but before I step down, so item 32, are you okay with that one? Because I kind of skipped, that was with all the paving.
In the parks.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over for
With
Steve.
the priority list, though.
Yes, I will text right now and see if we can get those quotes by Tuesday so I can have them for you by Wednesday. I'm going to pass it over to Steve Harris.
Item number 30 is to authorize $40,000 to our urban forest restoration account, a long-standing account that was established after the Labor Day storm. We typically use that to re-inventory 1/7 of the street tree population. And we also want to do a canopy assessment that was last done in 2010. We want to see where we're losing and gaining canopy. And then we also use that to buy plants that we use for like volunteer projects in our parks and whatnot.
Any questions from my colleagues on that?
Item 31 is to authorize $130,000 of cash capital for natural areas restoration. This is our third year using with this program to put attention to our long neglected natural areas. Schiller Park is a great example where we've cleared out the understory of unwanted invasive trees, including poison ivy and buckthorn, putting new trees in the ground. Along the way, we improved sight lines, clean out a lot of trash. We've removed like 50 needles at Schiller just in the areas we've worked. Improve visibility for public safety. The work we've done at the Creek Walk by the footbridge was financed with that. Followed up by replanting, because the capital improvement is the replanting.
Any questions at all? We all?
No. Okay.
Thank you so much.
We all okay with that?
Yep.
Councilor Green, did you want to mention anything regarding the possible, we're going to have a meeting, Steve, Councilor Green, we'll do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've just gotten some discussions about the sidewalk program and how it relates to taking down trees, and we just want to make sure it's on the same page about what the best practice is there. So that'll be something we do in the future, I guess.
I heard something about that yesterday. It sounds like we plan on convening in December to work through what's happening in the coming year, something like that?
I think we said 6 weeks, so.
6 weeks?
We'll get it together quicker.
I'm ready whenever.
Great.
Great, thanks.
Has there been interface between you and Mr. Burke on those issues at all?
Mr. Burke?
Neil?
Oh, Neil, we communicate on a almost daily basis, and with Chris Ettinger, trying to figure out what we're going to do as we scale up. I mean, the bottom line is the root going to stay there, or is concrete going there? And if the concrete's got to go there and we got to cut the root to do it, then we have to make an assessment. Do we have to remove the tree? Often we need to. So we'll endeavor to come up with a solution to make it all work.
Okay, good.
Yep, thanks.
Thanks, Councilor Green. Thanks, Steve. I think that's it for me. So, who's next there? Mr.
So I think we're gonna go to Councilman Joe, just because he has one item and I have a nice sized list.
Thank you.
Yeah. Gotta let the chief get out there and keep our streets safe, right?
Yeah, I thank you too. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Joe Cecil, First Deputy Chief with Syracuse Police. We have one item in front of you. It's for a request for ARPA funds, just under $500,000 for cops cameras. And again, this would be for maintenance, repair, replacement, and new installations. I specifically put new installations, or we specifically put new installations at the end of that list of 4, because I don't want to raise expectations that we're going to start putting up a lot of new projects. We're first going to do an audit. We have some of it done already to find out how old our current stock of 521 cameras are, and because those are all in fairly strategic positions already, and we have to see how many of those need to be simply repaired or replaced. So a lot of this money, just to be clear, will go toward replacement, maintenance, and repairs of the current 521. We're hoping that we are pleasantly surprised and find out that our stock is in good shape and we can use a lot of this money for new installations. Because as all of you know, every neighborhood in the city is asking for these COPS cameras. So this would be, again, a little under $500,000. It's $170,000 a year. It will supplement our current budget of about $150,000 that we've set aside for replacement, repair, and maintenance of COPS cameras. So again, in the end, we hope to be able to put up new installations. I want to also mention, while I'm standing here, that our representatives in Albany, Pam Hunter and Bill Magnarelli, have been great at putting up these cameras. They continue to ask us for spots where we think we need new installations, because that's what the DASNY grants are for. They can pay for new cameras, but they cannot pay for maintenance, for maintenance, repairs, or replacements of current existing cameras, just new installations.
So I would just ask, when you do have that list of what we're prioritizing, what we're gonna do, if we could, you could send that to the council. I'd like to see which ones, are going to be replaced and need to be replaced, and if we could get an up-to-date, because I know with the lifespan of some of them are only, 6 years, 5 years, whatever. I don't know if the new cameras are better, but I know in the past that was sort of the case. So I'd just like to know what the lifespan is of certain cameras. If we could get an update on that, that'd be great.
Yeah, I will. I'll send you, all of you, the entire audit when we get it done. And they do tell us 5 to 7 years is the life expectancy, though we've been able to get 8 in one case, or in a couple cases, 10 years out of a camera.
So the strategy would be state funding for new cameras, ARPA funding to replace and repair older ones, correct?
Exactly.
And so, but the ARPA funding could only be used in the census tracts that the ARPA funding is allowed to, right?
That's correct.
So we'd have to find money for those outside the.
Yes, we do. Yeah, go ahead.
So my question to maybe the administration, why wouldn't we spend more money on cameras? He's got $500,000, why wouldn't we spend $750,000?
Actually, the maintenance of the public safety infrastructure does not have to be done inside a qualified census tract in order to qualify for ARPA funding.
That makes it even better. Why wouldn't we?
Why wouldn't we?
Spend more money. Cameras are like, we're beset by people who want cameras on their corners.
Again, as the budget director laid out, there's a plan to spend the $123 million, and we couldn't allocate everything to everything, so that was the amount that was allocated.
A plan put together by the administration,
That's
not
correct.
a plan that's,
Yep.
I'm
Subject to approval by the council, absolutely. Yes, sir.
It's okay.
I would also probably say our state representatives are probably more eager to give us grant money to put up new cameras rather than repair cameras. Not that they don't want to repair it, but it probably looks a little bit better to say we put up cameras rather than we're spending money on maintenance. So it's probably better to spend, these funds or ARPA money to repair, because I'm confident that we can probably get a larger pot of money from, our state delegation for new cameras rather than, simply repairing what they already spent money on.
Councilor Carney has eye on higher office.
I just understand the politics of asking the state for money.
If I can add, we don't have to discuss this now, Chief, but it's been mentioned before, and maybe we could do it some other time, Councilman Joke. But one of the things I'm concerned with, obviously, the camera's not going to make an arrest, but the coordination of the cameras with shot spotters, I think, is very intelligent, and I would like to know at some point where we are with that. We don't have to do it now, but I would expect that would improve our effectiveness, and the effectiveness of the camera use if ShotSpotter was coordinated with it in some way.
Yep, no doubt about it, Counselor.
Chief, do you have any idea
what locations you might look to put the cameras in? I know that you're not deciding exactly now, you're going to wait till the money gets developed, but where are the hotspots that you feel that they might be the most useful?
Yeah, so it's a great question, Counselor. What I did, I don't mean to use the pronoun I, but what we did is reach out to our SPOs, which are Syracuse police officers, retired Syracuse police officers that man the cameras, also the district captains and a few other folks like from OCAC, our crime analysis team. We asked them specifically that. When we have a major incident, whether it's a homicide or some gun violence, some big deal, where did they see gaps when they start to investigate this? And that's where we're going to start putting them. I will tell you right now, most of them, Councilor Hogan will not want to hear this, most of them, of our gaps are going to be southwest. But we're hoping to be able to get some.
Represent the south, some of the southwest.
I know you
too,
do, that's true.
Council.
Yes. And I wanted to mention too, so with these cameras, not to get real technical because I don't know much about them, but we'll have occasional requests. Councilor Hogan, for instance, has a neighbor that wants, I need one here. It's difficult to ever put up one camera because these things are all line of sight. In the end, the anchor goes into either a school. We're trying to also use firehouses, but it has to wire in and go back to the PSB. So when someone says, I'd like to have one at the corner of this street, if we don't have a network to tie into, it's impossible. It may be 10 cameras to get back to this firehouse or this school. So and I forgot to, so I'm glad I remembered this. I wanted to mention too, some of this money we are going to use to pilot some of these cameras. This IK Systems camera company is building these what are called portable cameras. They run off of solar power, so we don't have to hook them into national grid power. They use 4G or 5G to get the footage back to us at the public safety building. We're going to pilot a few of those with this money because this could be the game changer if we can do this. Then when someone says, I would like one at the corner of this street, and we say, yeah, that's a good spot, we're having a lot of issues there, we won't have to wire in 10 cameras. We can go there and immediately temporarily put up this camera. And then when the problem subsides, if it does, take the camera down and move it somewhere else. So with this money, we're also going to buy a few of those and pilot that to see if those cameras can work.
Now, Chief, you said that sometime, and as Councilor Kearney alerted to, that the state usually doesn't give grants. When they provide this grant, they don't usually allocate money for repairs. Now, does Dash anywhere has any money that we could apply for repair, or just Dash said no? Just figure the repairs and maintenance costs out.
Yep. In my conversation with Assemblywoman Pam Hunter just last week, she, in fact, again, she called me to ask. I had asked her about a specific area. She said, which is a great problem to have. She said, we can do that, but is it only 75 grand? I said, yeah, for that particular area. She said, typically DASNY grants are much larger than that. So she wants more locations, which I'll do. But I asked her in that conversation, what about repairing or replacing cameras that you already put in place? And she said, I don't think the DASNY grants will work for that. They only work for new installations.
Have we, as the administration, tried to have a conversation with Dash to try to figure out, this, anything, if you tried anything?
We're always looking, again, because we have 521 of these up, and there's no sense in having them if we can't maintain them. So yes, we will. Janet Burke's here too, and she's an expert on grants.
She just left.
Oh, did she leave?
She
She was smart. But I'll keep circling around, and I'll circle around once again and find out. I mean, definitely not maintenance or repair, and she even said replacement of existing cameras, no. But DASNY grants will do new installations.
Now, my last question in that, Chief, as the department make budget every year, have we thought about putting more money into stuff like this more than, because I just heard 150,000. What's the estimate cost of that, and has the department been try to consider that and actually properly fund that maintenance and repair?
Sure. No, it's a great question. That's what our audit will hopefully do. There was just 3 years ago, we had no budget at all for maintaining these. And we decided to put 150,000 in there because we realized our stock was getting old and dying. So we just put that in a few years ago. But our audit will tell us if we do in fact need more than that. I'm gonna wager we do. But as Councilor Bay mentioned, they don't stop shots, so a lot of it will weigh upon whether we have it in our budget. And certainly if we can hire cops as opposed to putting cameras, we're gonna hire cops. But that's what our audit will do, is tell us exactly what we should really be putting in that budget for repair, replacement, and all those things.
Any other questions, councilors? Councilor Allen, Councilor Driscoll, White, should we let it go? All right.
Good.
Thanks, Chief.
Yep, thank you for putting me up next, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, it's time for DPW. All right, so. Commercials? I don't think so. Okay, looks like item 30, the first item that I have is, yeah.
It looked very similar. It was the energy. We have the contracts, look at our national grid bills. Somehow there was some miscommunication between budget and law, and the language wasn't really right, because last time we were waiving we were giving a contract to use while we do the RFP, and I guess the description of the timing was a little off, so this fixes it so that it's very clear that we're just using the current vendor until we select a vendor through the RFP process, which all the responses are due September 7th. So it was really just correcting a timeline issue. Any questions? Thanks.
No. Okay. Any questions or concerns on that? No? I'll make a motion to move it on to the agenda. All in favor? All right? Okay, great. Item 34, amendment for the number of parking spots on previous ordinance.
Afternoon, councilors. So this is an amending in an ordinance from 2016 with Arcadis for the Washington Street garage. The original agreement was a minimum of 150 and a maximum of 220, and we are amending it to a minimum of 30 and a maximum of 100.
Okay.
Changes in their workforce, they don't need as many parking spots. We're okay with it.
Okay, any questions on this item? All right, make a motion to put it on the agenda. Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, great.
Thank you.
All right, looks like Commissioner Awald, we got a number of water items here.
Good afternoon. Yes, we got a number of water items. Commissioner Awald for the Water Department. So the first one is 35 and 35.1. This is a request to author transfer of funds for capital account for the rehabilitation of gatehouses and pump houses and or vaults. So this is to maintain our facilities like brickwork, roofing, and that type of stuff. Any questions?
So this is just actual infrastructure, like on the buildings themselves, or?
Yes.
Okay. All right, any questions on those items? No? All right, I'll make a motion to put that on the agenda. Can I get a second? Second. All in favor? Okay.
Item 36 is request to transfer funds again to our, for capital equipment. This is for our equipment that is aging and has a lot of use and wear and tear on it. A lot of stuff we need to replace, such as 2 large dump trucks, a forklift, a compressor for our crew guys, a backhoe, and a bypass pump that we use in case we need to pump from one pressure district to another. We can utilize that to hook up from hydrant to hydrant to push pressure back into that district. Any questions?
I don't have any of my colleagues have any questions on that?
Counselor, not having the letters, what, are all these funding, what, is this capital accounts or are they ARPA funded?
Yeah. Capital accounts.
Okay, sure. It's okay, no, it's as long as, I just want to know what's what, that's all.
That'll give you a little bit of a breakdown on there.
Yep,
if you-
cash capital accounts.
Yeah. Okay. All right, make a motion to put that on the agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great.
All right, 37 is authorization to bond for the project of Lafayette Pressure Reducing Valve Station. This is actually in conjunction with item 39, And a project we already have going is the Brighton pump station replacement. Brighton pump station up there by Brighton Towers is going to get replaced, along with all the water main from that pump station south to the Nob Hill apartment area. Our Lafayette Reservoir and PRV pits are over in the old golf course, Lafayette Country Club. It's a very small little reservoir that we're going to decommission and put in PRVs to pull off the south branch. That way we're not trying to maintain a small reservoir. Health Department has been asking us to try and do something with that small facility, and they're in favor of this project. So this will roll up into our Brighton pump station project, which is already authorized and designed. Actually, we're going to be going out for construction bids in the next month or so on that one. Any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. Anyone, any of my colleagues have any questions on this one? No. All right, make a motion to put it on the agenda. Second? All in favor? Aye.
38 is last year's cash capital equipment account. We had put on there to replace 2 trailers. During this last year, we had 2 of our crews compressors that they utilized during water main excavations. The compressors are reaching their end of life, so we want to switch. Instead of purchasing 2 new trailers, utilize those funds to purchase 2 new compressors for the crews. Any questions?
I'm all set. I don't have any questions. Any questions, my colleagues? No? All right, make a motion to put this on the agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Okay, great.
All right, next is item 39. This is to amend the contract with the consultant who did the Brighton Pump Station project design. We want to extend their contract to do the construction administration and inspection for during construction. So this would be not to exceed $381,300 as their full contract. So this includes all of their previous design and their construction administration component.
Okay, and when do we believe that construction will begin on this?
We're going to probably bid construction at the end of September.
Okay.
So hopefully early spring we can get in there and start doing our work.
Okay. Any questions from my colleagues on this one? No? All right. Make a motion to put this on the agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Great. Let's move on to
Number
this item
40.
Yeah.
Number 40, this is to request authorization for funds for the project of rehabilitation of the Bose Gatehouse. The Bose Gatehouse is out on the conduit line. It is currently inoperable. It's a small pump station. I think it was originally built in like 1938. The valve was replaced in 1945, and last year the valve stopped working. Can't turn it. It's a 36-inch valve. So our goal is to redesign that gatehouse into a more modern type of facility where we have some SCADA, so we can capture the data of how much water is being transferred into the city and being able to maintain that facility. Any questions?
I'm all set with this. Any questions from my colleagues on this one? No. All right. Make a motion to put it on the agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Item 41 is authorization for funds transfer for our hydrant replacements. This is so we can purchase hydrants and replace them as they age out or get hit in the distribution system. On average, we do 80 to 85 per year. Any questions?
Do we have a set list of ones that we're prepared to go fix now, that we're just sort of?
Yep.
I know it's an annual thing that we go and replace it, but we've got a working list of what we're gonna do.
Yes, we have a working list of ones that are out of service. We try to get to those, but every winter, as we're approaching winter, I don't want to say it too loudly, but there's a lot of hydrants that get hit because people sliding off the road, so, we tackle those and get those back in service quickly. Any questions?
I'm all set. Any questions from my colleagues on this one? No? All right. Motion to put it on the agenda. Can I get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Number 42 is authorization of funds transfer for our water replacement program. We utilize this account to, if we're doing a capital project of a pump station, if we find that we want to add some additional water main replacement around the pump station or in the vicinity, we can utilize this account to do that. Any questions?
I guess the same thing, do we have a working list of water mains that need to be replaced that we're just continuously updating, going through, and this is?
Correct.
Okay.
And we're targeting the ones like around the capital projects we're doing with the pump station. So, you know, the pump station's getting replaced. We should be replacing the infrastructure right around each pump station to maintain the integrity of the mains directly downstream of the discharge of the pump.
Okay. Are there any questions from my colleagues on this one? All right, hearing none, I'll make a motion to put it on the agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great. It's,
Got a few more here.
facility securities.
Yes, number 43, again, authorization of funds transfer for the capital account for security improvements, which involve cameras, intrusion detection on doors, lighting in the yard and at the pump stations and/or UV treatment facilities.
So I guess my question, because I know we've done, you know, some of these in the past, are we going and putting in cameras on buildings that traditionally don't have cameras? Are we replacing the cameras and putting in lights, you know?
Yeah, so actually both of those. Some as cameras, you know, break down, we replace them. Some places we don't have cameras, we probably should, you know, putting them in, putting lights in over doorways, so if we have to go in those facilities at night, we can see.
So I guess my question is the purpose of the cameras and the lights and things, is it more of just, you know, protecting structurally the buildings and, you know, people defacing the property, or is there a, you know, actual public safety concern of, we're putting up cameras out of concern of what someone may do at these, you know, at these facilities of?
Actually, all of the above.
Okay.
So it's, you know, protect our employees, so they, you know, someone's there watching. We have numerous around our building. We have people that have jumped our wooden fence on the Erie Boulevard side, gotten into our yard, and actually walked into the building. You know, without these cameras, our dispatch guys who are there 24/7 wouldn't have seen it.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Any other questions?
No additional question,
Yeah.
Councilor Carney. So, Commissioner, is this essentially the same project that we were going to use ARPA funds for, but are now trying to spend capital money?
it's a small component of that one. So we're looking at just doing the cameras and intrusion type stuff first.
Understood. All right, thank you.
Any other questions on this one? No? Okay, make a motion to put this on the agenda. Can I get a second? All in favor? Aye. Okay, great. It's,
Item 44, this is, you know, based on our RFP that went out, we had numerous consultants that proposed on the project, and based on the committee review of the proposals, we selected GHD to do the chlorine replacement project out at Skaneateles Lake. This project is to remove the chlorine gas from use and put in a solution. That way it's less caustic and toxic and a little less liability of anything to go wrong. Any questions?
I don't have any questions. Any questions from my colleagues on this one? All right, I'll make a motion to put this on the agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, last item.
Last item, 45. Similar to the previous one, based on committee review and selection, to request that EDR, the consultant, we selected EDR to be the pump station Mosley replacement project designer. And this project is for the Mosley pump station, which is over on Mosley, which currently is only used in case of high demands in the intermediate high pressure zone. We also want to install 2 new transmission mains for that pressure district along Sunnycrest and Glen Cove. Any questions?
I don't have any questions. My colleagues on this one? No? Make a motion to put this on the agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All
Okay,
right.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Engineering.
Afternoon, councilors. John Kivland, Department of Engineering. Item number 46 is a grant application to New York State Department of Transportation for Kirk Park pedestrian bridge replacement, not to exceed $2 million.
Okay, are there any questions from my colleagues on this one?
Was this capital or ARPA funding?
It's just a grant application right now.
Oh, grant application, I'm sorry, missed it.
It has to be scored. It's a statewide solicitation. If we were successful, then we proceed to the funding of the project.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? I'll make a motion to put it on the agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item number 47 is another grant application for Erie Boulevard West to construct a multi-use cycle track from West Genesee Street to Franklin Street. Not to exceed $6.2 million.
I don't have any questions. Any questions from my colleagues on this one? No? Okay, make a motion to put this on the agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Item number 48 is a revoke of permission to install a monitoring well at 239 Wolf Street in the city right away. Not to exceed 2 years.
Okay. Any questions from my colleagues on this one? They're okay with this? I think it's your side of town. Okay. Make a motion to put this on the agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. And those are all my items, and they are all ready, so. that concludes,
Counselor, if I could, forbearance, maybe if
Yes.
Corey and Greg, if you could just maybe submit to the councils regarding the municipal sidewalk program, and what sidewalks we're doing first, and who's on the list at some point, as soon as possible. Because I'm getting calls about that all the time.
Okay. All set. Those are all my items, so, done.
Appreciate everybody being here.
Yeah,